guys, what's up and welcome to today's video. So I know I've made a series of videos about moving to New York and how to get apartments and things to like look out for and everything, but I wanted to make a video as to some of the things that might actually be huge turnoffs to you to moving to this city. Just some of the realities I feel like no one really says and you don't realize till you start living here. I've only been here for about, I want to say 4 or 5 months now, which is crazy to me. So I'm not like a New Yorker or anything, and these are just some of the things that I've learned so far. But I wanted to share those things with you guys in case you're thinking about moving to this city. Here are just some things that I think people don't really talk about, but I feel like they would affect your day-to-day and would give you an idea on if this is the city for you or not. Let's get into this. So the first thing right off the bat is grocery shopping. Oh my god, I could make this entire video just about grocery shopping. First of all, that's not even something that I like. I used to not like doing it, and then I kind of slowly started to learn to like it because I just like cooking. But grocery shopping in New York is like a whole different thing. First off, you need to find one that's close to you or one that you can kind of get to. There isn't always one that might be close to where you live. Second off, with that being said, you're probably gonna have to walk at some point or take the subway or something at some point. And what that means is, as someone from the suburbs, it means you can't just like buy a ton of groceries for like the month and put them in your car and drive home and then have groceries for like the next few weeks. That just doesn't work in New York. One, because if you have a kitchen, it's probably barely enough to hold anything. And then if you have roommates like me, you can't just dominate the kitchen with all of your stuff. Like, my roommates eat too, and I'm not gonna sit in here and just fill up the fridge and freezer with all my food. Like, my roommates have to have their shelves as well. So right off the bat, you definitely cannot get as many things at one time, which I'm kind of like I want to go and be done. And so that also just increases the frequency. I go to the grocery store at least once a week. If there's something I forgot, or maybe I need to run to a different grocery store, sometimes even twice a week, but typically it's about once a week. And it's like 2 bags of groceries. That is like it. Even if I want to get more, I can't get more. So I kind of have to pre-plan what I'm getting in advance, so I'm not just getting like milk, juice, and a ton of like cans and having to carry like such heavy loads with me. Like, I kind of try to pan it out, and also I need to have an idea of what I'm making in advance for the week before going grocery shopping, so I'm not getting just an abundance of groceries that are gonna sit there. So what I'm trying to tell you is it takes a lot of pre-planning before you even go, and you have to go a lot. And the third thing is, oh my god, everything in New York is always packed, but I did not realize how packed grocery stores could be. So I'm a heavy Trader Joe's shopper just because I love Trader Joe's, just because I think they have the best value and the best food, quite honestly. But I am not the only person who thinks this way. And if you go to any big grocery store in New York City, whether that be Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or even your like corner grocery store, the lines are always absurd. Like, I know when I go to Trader Joe's, it's literally like you walk in and it's like the entire store, and then the registers are on the side, but the lines are so long that the line literally begins where you enter the store. So a lot of times I have to go in and like put my like cart or basket like on the side and like slide past people who are in line just because they're like blocking the aisles to like actually go shopping. I'm someone who's fine in crowds and all that kind of stuff, and literally grocery shopping stresses me out. Maybe this is why people just don't cook in New York and just order food all the time, because literally grocery shopping is an actual nightmare. Next thing, Ubers or any kind of ride sharing tool. So like Ubers, Lyfts. New York City has its own version of like Uber and Lyft. It's called Via, which I'll get into in just a second, but we'll just go off the top of like Uber and Lyft. I mean, I would take them all the time, and especially going out late at night, even though the subways run 24/7, personally, as a woman going home by myself, I don't feel comfortable taking the subway at like 3:30 in the morning. That's just me. Maybe I'll get hate for that, but like I just don't want to risk it, and I'd rather call a car. New York City, I think, is one of the most expensive places in the US for Ubers and Lyfts. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense because most people don't have cars here. For example, going to the Upper West Side to like the East Village or the Lower East Side or something, I think the distance is only like 6 miles, but that'll be like a $15 Uber if I share the car. It's just more expensive to take any kind of car. I know that you guys might be like, but what about a cab? The famous New York City cab. Cabs are more expensive. I've actually found this, like one time I was taking a cab and it was actually a much shorter distance than what I normally do from like downtown all the way uptown type thing. And it actually was more expensive than if I had just called an Uber or a Lyft, because they have their normal like cab fare on top of the time and distance. I forget how it's calculated, but it always ends up being more than if I had just called said Uber and Lyft. Just know that it's so much more expensive. And like I said, New York City has its own version of like Uber and Lyft. It's called Via, and that's actually the cheaper, at least I found it to be cheaper. When getting rides, I usually check between all 3 apps to see what the rates are, and Via tends to be the cheapest one, but by cheapest, it's like a buck or two cheaper. So if it's a $17 ride, it's a $15 ride, and I just am like, oh my god. And piggybacking off of the Uber Lyft thing, also just not having a car. If you're someone who just likes driving and likes having like your car and going like point A to point B and never worrying about parking, like you're gonna hate New York City. Because if you move here, I'd honestly recommend just selling your car, because even if you live on a quiet residential street like I do, a lot of times parking is gone and it's always a challenge to find parking. I think it would be more expensive to maintain a car in the city, and quite honestly, to use it for the things you would probably do wherever you live now, like for example, go to work or go grocery shopping. You probably would find it a lot more inconvenient to drive your car to work, especially if you work like midtown or downtown or like honestly anywhere in Manhattan. It would take you longer literally to drive to work, and then to park your car it would cost you more. It would cost you more time. With that being said, with the fact that nobody drives, how do people get around? The subway. I'm sure you guys all know about New York City's subway system. It's like incredibly integrated, and whoever designed it did a great job, because you can quite literally get anywhere in the city through the use of the subways, just the ways that they're connected and everything. They made it so you pretty much never need a car. But let me tell you, there is such thing as rush hour in New York City. It's just different. So between the hours of, I want to say 8 and 9 a.m. and between like 4:45 and 5:45 p.m. are probably the worst time to get on the subway. Some of them have been so packed that you literally have to just let that train pass and wait for the next one to show up, and literally just squeeze yourself in between people so you can like get a standing spot. But you have 0 breathing room. If you're claustrophobic, you will hate it. And if you just don't like random strangers breathing on you or touching you, like leaning up against you, you're going to hate it. Going back to that grocery store point, or any errands that you have to run that involve you holding things, highly recommend going at an off-peak hour, because if you make the mistake of being like, I'm gonna go grocery shopping right after work because I got out of work early, and then take the train home with my groceries, but now you're at like the rush hour time, like you barely have enough standing room yourself. You're hardly gonna have room for you and the groceries you just bought, and there's probably gonna be people stepping all over them. You pay a premium for a very small amount of space in New York City. Space in general is a huge commodity in the city, and so anywhere you kind of live is going to be small. So if you're just someone who likes breathing space and you want a place to yourself, unless you have a lot of money, that's just probably not going to happen. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. These are just some of the things that I've learned so far just in the few months of living here, and some of the things that I kind of miss about being home. But again, I love this city, and I truly think it's amazing. I think I might do another flip side of like some of the best things about living in New York City that you guys might not know about. But these are just some of the tips and tricks these are just some of the things that I've picked up on so far just living here and what I've learned so far. I'm sure I'll learn more things as I go. This isn't to like hate on anything. I feel like every single city, every single place you live in will have its pros and cons. And I just feel like these are a couple cons in my book. These just might not bother other people, but these are just like minor cons in my book. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you aren't already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.